Pew, pew. That's my life is bloopers.
We're at the Sterling Arms International factory, and we have a sneak peek at the Sterling Arms International R9, Mark 1, about to hit dealers or retailers near you. But we're gonna kind of take an in-depth look at it and see how many of them I want.
Yeah. Well, we're kind of trying to get the R9 out because we were actually pushing to get the R18 Mark III out, and then when it got hit with the ban just before Christmas, we had to stop on that.
Yeah.
So then it's like, well, this was almost ready. So then we said, this has got to be ready.
So basically, this is the latest effort to try and comply with what the government is telling you have to do.
Correct.
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at it.
Okay, we've got two models. So we've got the non-restricted, right, and the restricted. So an 18.6 and a 10.5. Basically, this barrel is still only about 11 inches, right? Which is like the threaded portion here.
Yeah.
But we had to make a continuous piece of steel to make this compliant, to make it non-restricted.
So we basically got an 11-inch barrel regardless. It's just a matter of whether it's restricted compliant or non-restricted compliant.
Correct. Okay. And it's really important that, because people think, oh, we're going to lose velocity, but actually this makes it more consistent. Because it doesn't matter what 9mm ammo you shoot, by the time you get to between 10 and 12 inches, your powder burn is done. Mm-hmm. So everybody with 18-inch barrels, by the time you get to like 11 inches, all you're doing at that point is slowing down or adding inconsistencies and a lot more whip.
Right.
Right, because of the movement. And because most people with their 9mm have very thin barrels, you get tremendous whip. Mm-hmm. Right, so you're adding a lot of inconsistency. I mean, in fact, like on the B&T, they actually use a rubber plug at the end to try to stabilize the barrel, right, because they know they get so much movement in the end, right? So that's what we did, is we opened it right up, and it just happens to be the exact same diameter to use an AR-15 bore brush to get in there.
Oh, okay.
Like a chamber brush to clean it out, to make it compact. Removal stock. So this still meets.
It's just a Picatinny rail for the butt. Yeah.
So what it does is this still meets the minimum 26-inch requirement to keep it non-restricted.
Okay.
Right, because go from tip to tip, so we're still good.
Right.
So that's what I think. So we got a non-restricted no matter what it is, but it makes it easy for us to ship, to package. What's going to happen though is, like, right now this is our old school stock, which we originally bought from Turkey.
Same type of one from the Mark II.
Right, or the Mark III, sorry. But what we did is that's the only part that isn't back from anodizing.
Okay.
So we can't really show you that part because we sent them all to get done.
That's why it's a sneak peek.
It's a sneak peek. So what we've done is they're coming with a different stock, because what we want is we want to use a standard mil-spec buffer tube. Right, just because we want it to be to take abuse.
Yep.
So we've redesigned our adapter so it uses just a regular buffer tube.
Right.
So then we can put any kind of mil-spec stock on it. What we've gone to, I mean, if you look at most of the PCCs out there, they're all Glock mags, and we've gone away from that. So we've gone with an MP5 mag.
Yeah.
Right, because steel-lipped, takes a beating. Like the problem with
it worked for the MP5.
It works for so many guns.
So it should work for this.
Yeah. The problem with Glock mags, and they're great mag, but in PCCs, because of how they're all blowback, like they strip a little bit of plastic every time.
Right.
So your life expectancy on them, and we got to run them at the shooting edge and Target Sports, and we knew that we could get no more than probably about a month out of a magazine.
Right. Okay.
So somebody who wants to put a lot of rounds in, or they're going to beat the crap out of them, like they're doing 3-gun, they're everything. Well, this won't pop free the same way, right? So you got to practice. So when you strip them out, but once you get that down, and it's pretty fast. But the magazines are way more robust.
Pretty much the same manual of arms as an MP5.
Yeah.
Just like so.
Except we've got a last round catch on ours.
Right.
So MP5s, like the original MP5s, or even current MP5s, they don't have a last round catch.
Okay.
But we got the magazines redesigned because we wanted to have a last round catch.
So they're kind of like proprietary, but not proprietary.
Yeah.
So now, would anybody be able to use a regular MP5 magazine? They just wouldn't have the last round hold open.
Correct.
Okay. And it says right on here, pistol magazine.
Yep. 10 round maximum.
10 round max.
Yeah. And there's
Very cool.
there's a big steel bar in the back. Like it's there.
These aren't just it's not a riveted piece of, like, these look like they're compliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We buy them like that.
Yeah.
Right. So that way they're, we're a gun company, not a magazine company.
Yeah,
So,
which is good. I mean, the whole point of this is to try and meet the compliance of the government's requirements, and so they don't want magazines to be able to be easily modifiable for more than 5 or 10 rounds, and so these aren't.
right. But the important thing too is that this was designed prior to December 15th, 2023. So it's pre-C21.
So it just happened to be that way.
So we don't need to have like some guys trying to get it with a proprietary mag.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have to worry about that. We can use existing magazines.
Right. So it's good to have the design in the pipeline already.
Yeah. In fact, what we did is when this was coming down was we sent the RCMP a list of all the guns that we have in the pipeline that we've gotten past the design stage, because the law is designed and manufactured after that date. So we've designed them. We just haven't gotten to commercial manufacturing yet.
Yeah.
But we wanted to let them know that we've already designed these guns. Here's the step file of the overall gun. So that way we can prove that we don't have to go back after the fact and try to dance through whether or not we were compliant with magazines.
Yeah. So we're talking about compliance, obviously, and that's the name of the game. I imagine as a Canadian gun manufacturer, you're putting out what is going to be the most likely to be able to be sold in this country.
Yeah.
But we probably should say that, I mean, like, we have no idea what the government's going to do tomorrow.
Well, we have no idea, because since they pulled the regulations in December about changing FRTs and changing their classifications, we have no idea.
Yeah.
Like something's going on.
The best we can do is the best we can do. You're compliant for right now. And this is a gun that is legal to own and use and sell in this country right now, and that's good enough.
Yeah.
Now we're going to start taking it apart here. You've already started with us for us, and that was basically the same as what everybody is familiar with from their typical modern sporting rifles. You've got
exactly.
a pivot and a takedown pin.
Yeah.
You separate the lower from the upper. Yeah. What kind of triggers are in those?
Right now it's a proprietary trigger.
Okay.
We are talking to Trigger Tech. We're going to probably make some changes just so we can get, because the problem is our channel is a little narrow for the Trigger Techs.
Okay.
So we're going to change that so people can put them in.
Okay.
So we're working on our pin
So maybe
placements
something
and
for
things.
like a future iteration or something.
And then it'll be at a certain point down sometime in
Maybe the R9
2025.
Mark II?
Not even that long. At a certain point, we'll just say after this point, you can use this mag. But for right now, it works great with the mags, with the trigger we've got.
Yeah,
So we're happy with that. I mean, it takes any safety, like AR-15 safety. So if you have a ambi you want to put in or whatever, like you can do all, put those in. But really, the gun out of the box shoots. Like on the top, we've got pressure. So we've got upper retaining pins. So what these are for is to put pressure on the upper itself.
Yeah.
So that way. Yeah. So we just get rid of any wobble.
You just don't want that wobble. Yeah.
Yeah. Like we have these on the R18 Mark III as well.
Oh, perfect.
So 5.6, and we'll see that. So that way too is when you put it together, it just kind of gives it that little bit of push, just so there's less wobble as things wear. Because you get the thing, it's super tight, but what's it like after 20, 30,000 rounds?
Yeah.
And we expect people to shoot these a lot.
Yeah.
So we want that to do that. Like that's why. So like on the back of the aluminum, like there's 70-75. On the back.
Wait a minute, let's say that again, because that's kind of important.
Yeah. So the receiver set itself is 70-75 T6.
It's not your typical 60-61 that you would see. Like this is good quality aluminum.
Well, 60-61
not
is...
that 60-61 is bad, but I mean, like you're making sure that it's the right kind of aluminum for what you're trying to
Like, and it's basically the naysayers, go on about, 60-61 versus 70-75. 70-75 is harder to manufacture. It's more money for the material. For what we're doing here, it's perfect. 60-61 would be perfectly fine.
Right.
But we're trying to future-proof, and so 70-75, we're done. Right? But also, we can make it lighter because we can make it thinner. Like the properties of 70-75, because it's almost like mild steel.
Right.
75 is like mild steel. 60-61, the coatings are more important because the material is softer. So by going 70-75, we now can, because we can make it the whole gun a little lighter.
And that is something worth mentioning for sure, because when you look at this, that is probably the narrowest profile that I've seen out of a Canadian-made gun like this in quite some time.
Yeah, and we also made it so it's very
not big.
Yeah, and it's very difficult to make it. Like we followed all the RCMP protocols, so for the trigger pocket, so that way it's very difficult if somebody wanted to try to make it full auto. I mean, there's a lot of machining you'd have to do. It's not just like drill an extra pin and throw something in. Like that ain't happening, especially because of how our bolt works.
Yeah.
Right, it's a pretty beefy bolt.
Yeah.
Right, and it's designed, but also on
It's direct blowback.
Yeah, and and we went with that. Like we picked that because that's already acceptable in Canada.
Yeah.
You know, if we'd gone for certain things we look at and go, well, the RCP may say that it's a variant of that or that.
Right.
It's like, so you'd say, well, already like
Just go with what's already established.
yeah, because you don't want to fight that fight.
Yeah.
Right. For right now, so we went with a super heavy bolt. Right, and then like even just but to take the retaining pin out, like it's just
Take some pressure, yeah.
yeah, but it's just 45. It pulls out. So then
Yeah, it's super simple, yeah.
yeah, so then you can keep the thing oiled up. You can get it going. But what we also have on here is a firing pin safety. Mm-hmm. The problem with most PCCs is they have a tendency to fire out a battery if you're firing fast.
As evidenced by some other ones that
Yeah.
have been available in the past.
Yeah, and then they blow up.
Yeah.
Or they're a danger because they're going to have a breech explosion. So what happens is it's simple, very simple. There's a screw in the side of the receiver with its blunt head here, and as the carrier moves forward, it'll push back on the air and it moves a bar out of the way.
And that's it.
That's it.
Super important.
So if it's
the
not
sport guys will really be, like
Yeah.
that's really important for the sport guys.
Yeah. So if the gun isn't seated properly, the firing pin, like the hammer, just can't get to the firing pin.
Yeah.
It's an easy, simple, solution.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the firing pin retaining pin is out. Just there's a punch in there. When I pull this out, the firing pin can't go anywhere because of the firing pin lock. As soon as I press down on the firing pin lock, the firing pin will shoot out the back. That's how the lock works.
Dun, dun. And other than that, it's the at least for field stripping, that's pretty familiar, I think, for people.
Yeah. To take the handguard off, which you don't need to, but if you wanted to, it's a Torx on the side, a Torx on the top. And
Yeah.
the Torx key comes in the bag. So, it's a T10 up top, it's a T20 on the side.
Right.
Simple, like we not reinventing the wheel.
Easy
But
peasy.
we're trying to get away from Allen keys because people take apart and they strip Allen keys all the time. So it's like we went with Torx,
Yep.
right? Just to make it simple.
Yep.
Yeah, and then to reassemble is
Goes
easy.
back together the same way it came apart. You
Yep.
put the pivot pin in first and takedown pin.
Yeah,
We are at a shop,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so we are subject to what would the late great Paul Harrell say? We're not at the range today, but we are at a live shop, so please excuse any noise that you may hear in the background.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll get that compressor shut off right away.
Yeah, but a lot of things here run on air.
For sure.
Like me, but usually it's hot.
Well, you got to run on something.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've kind of gone through like the meat and potatoes of the gun, and really, I mean, we've gone through the trigger, we've gone through the bolt carrier, we've seen inside of it. Let's talk about kind of our features. What's familiar with this that people have already seen and are going to enjoy, and what's not.
Let's start the back. So it's Picatinny.
Yeah.
So there's probably now 20 companies making Picatinny stocks.
Yeah, for sure.
Adapters, all kinds of shit. So especially because the adapter that's going to come with has a buffer tube on it. So it's not proprietary.
Yeah.
So if somebody doesn't want to, they can undo the screws at the bottom, screw out the buffer tube, or they can take the stock off, put different stock on. It's just a mil-spec buffer tube.
Right.
So people have options if they want to start playing with it. At the base of the Picatinny is a QD. Right?
Right.
So that way, if people are doing multi-gun or the single point, they got a QD
look
right
at that.
there. And at 45, so the gun will fall out of the way.
Yeah.
Right? So it's just going to go boonk right there.
How about that? Hey?
Especially for the restricted version, it's going to be fun.
Which, I mean, like, if you're buying this strictly to be a go fast sport guy,
Yeah.
this is the one you're going to want.
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the look of it too. And
I never noticed that pick rail or the QD there. That's really neat.
Yeah, and then so we were looking at, do we do like a folding cocking handle, do everything? But you know what? The whole point is to make this a price point gun too.
Yeah.
Like we didn't want to like be like a B&T. Like the Mark II was $2,700 gun.
Yeah.
We knew that we have to not do that. So that's why we've went around the world. Our supply chain is very international, you know, and we make no bones about it. We get a lot of this stuff from Turkey, right?
Yep.
We get it from Slovenia, we get it from Taiwan, US, like we're all over the place. But we had to, because to get a gun, because there's a lot of machining, like this isn't a plastic gun.
Yeah.
And it's not extrusion,
Yeah.
right? Otherwise, if we went through the established supply chain in Canada, this would be another $2,700 9mm.
Right. To be able to make it the quality that
Yeah.
people are used to with Sterling Arms
Right.
International,
You
it
know.
would be the same price point.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's too. It's like just an extrusion die for our 4-rail.
Yeah.
It's like another 10 grand. Like every time you make a change, it adds up.
Yeah.
So we had to say, okay, what do we want to do? Where do we put our money in? And so we said, like, that's going to be, you know, we want to do an international supply chain, so therefore we can get a price down.
Yeah.
Right. But it still has to be a good gun. Like we have Mark IIs, R18 Mark IIs that are getting close to 100,000 rounds at some of these ranges. Like they're beating the crap out of these guns, and they're
Yeah.
still running.
Yeah.
So we need to put a gun out there that gives that same.
Same quality.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it doesn't have to be the same price point. So in terms of manufacturing, a lot of the parts are being made outside of Canada, but assembly is still happening inside of Canada?
Yeah, it's
in-house here.
Yeah, it is.
So, and I think that makes a difference too, because really the quality control is where the rubber meets the road, and that allows you to do the quality control inside of Canada while you're doing the assembly. Obviously, if assembly is not going smooth, the parts aren't made properly.
Yeah. So that's the thing is we get the parts in, and they're in boxes of like, you know, I think of like 200 barrels, 100 lowers, 100 hoppers, whatever. Like, so it's all broken up, and then we assemble it all. We go through it because we get it from different places, and you know, put it all together. And that's
So
really
it's not
good.
like this is completely a non-Canadian gun. Like, we're talking about designed in Canada. We're talking about assembled in Canada. It's just using parts to maximize quality and
Yeah.
consumer retail price.
Yeah. The thing is too is like, yeah, we've taken some heat over people saying, oh, you know, it's a Turkish gun. Well, it's not. Like a bunch of stuff is made there. And yes, you know what? I'm not going to lie about that. However, remember, people used to buy a Toyota in the 70s because it was cheap. Now you buy a Toyota because it's the only car that holds its value.
Yeah.
Right?
And they ain't cheap no more.
They ain't cheap no more. And same thing is, I mean, Beretta has 3 factories in
Yeah,
Turkey.
Beretta has factories there. CZ has factories.
Well, where's your iPhone made? It's made in China. So everybody says,
Yeah.
oh, China. It's like, well,
Yeah.
you're fucking the best phone in the world, arguably.
No, Android is the best, but carry on.
Yeah. Well, where's the Android made?
Also in China.
It's in
Yeah.
China.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is too, is it's like we are trying to find solutions because, you know, as we laugh about the Canadian, you know, we ironically laugh about the Canadian non-restricted tax on how, oh, the moment it's Canadian, it's not restricted, it's going to be another $1,000. Like it's the extra we pay. It's like, well, we're trying to find ways to leverage our international footprint.
Yeah.
To find these supply chains, because we've got operations in the UK, you know, we've got operations here, we've got, you know, so that way we can figure this out and find that out.
And you're doing what you can do in Canada.
Yeah.
You're doing the design, you're doing the assembly, you're doing, you know, obviously all of the after sale care. That's all 100% Canadian.
Yeah.
I don't see anything wrong with that.
I don't see anything wrong with it either. I mean, we caught the price like on our Mark III. We got the price down like $800.
Yeah.
You know, like we have
Compared
to
to the
do
Mark
that.
II.
Compared to Mark II.
Yeah, and that's pretty significant.
It is.
Yeah.
And I think we've taken all the lessons learned and we've applied that, and I think we've made a better gun.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is too. So when we're making that, and we saw a design that we go, holy crap, we can modify, and we can, you know, this is great for Canada. Same thing. It's like this would be great for Canada, and we can bring it at a price point that's acceptable, right? And we said, and it's going to be a high round count gun. Like you should be able to beat the crap out of this gun and have it work. Like you should be able to go to 3-gun matches, winter brutalities and stuff, and short as jamming this thing into the ice bank and not having to be able to shoot it.
Yeah.
This thing shouldn't you know, freeze up on you. It should work every time you pull the trigger.
Well, that's something else that I noticed about this that maybe is worth mentioning. A lot of our other PCCs that we see, not all, but a lot of them we see they're a mix of like aluminum and polymer.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking specifically of like the newest on the market that got caught up in the OIC. You know, the Smith & Wesson LPC is a mixture of aluminum and polymer. A lot of other 9mm guns are too, and this isn't. This is a aluminum and steel PCC.
It is. It's old school.
Yeah.
Like it really is. I mean, it feels it. It handles like it. You know, we want you to like, hey, I had to change the firing pin. I had to change this. I had to do that. Like, you know, the barrel is needs changing because it's now a a smooth bore.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we want. We want people to go, oh yeah, like, and that's the thing too is like we're.
You don't want the carrier or the receiver or the charging handle or something like that failing. It should be the barrel that fails first.
Yeah, that's like and that simple.
And with a
like
9mm, I mean, that's a lot of rounds.
That's a lot of rounds. And we're publishing the step files for our barrels on the website.
Okay.
So guys want to go to IBI and get a carbon barrel or swap it. Like, go ahead. It's a 10-minute job to swap a barrel on a 9mm. And it's a little lighter. Like this is going to be a nice gun because, with adjustable, you think about it for smaller people, like, like you can make it tiny. Yeah. Right. And I think it's really well balanced. Right.
Yeah. Well, the thing that struck me most is like it's solid and it feels good when you shoulder it.
Yeah. And the look, I mean, with these,
yeah,
it's just such a good look.
Honestly, even the 5-rounders look like, obviously they'll never look as good, but they look good.
They're okay. Yeah, but
no one's going to complain about them.
No, it's like it's pretty good. And you know what? By not going with a wacky side, like side folding.
Yeah.
We said like, okay, well, this is a $5 part.
Right.
So
you don't get the slap, but the gun's not $2,000 either.
Exactly. Like we said, how do we get this down? So we said, well, we have to go with this.
Yeah.
Like we went with like, how can we find parts that we can, buy off the shelf, like Ford does. I mean, look at little Bugatti. If you start going through their parts, the lights are from like, a Ford.
If anyone's ever tried to maintain a BMW or a Mercedes, they'll know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, we've been talking about price. What are these coming in at?
$1,600.
$1,600.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on the mark with a lot of the other PCCs.
Right on the mark with a. Is it not Just Right Carbine? Because JR Carbines run about 13, 14.
Right.
It's the.
But this is no JR Carbine though.
No, it's not. Right.
So we're at a very competitive price point.
Yeah.
When are they going to be available for people to buy?
They'll be in stores, some of the dealers, in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah, we were here, like the guys are here boxing, like building, boxing, test firing, because we thought this would be the second cousin, like, we'd be doing the 5.56 rifles. We'd put tons of effort in that. When we have enough parts kits here for almost 600 R18s.
Yeah.
Like we were gearing up for 200 to 300 a month, because you need basically 2 months of supply and then 3 months in the pipeline to keep momentum up.
Yeah.
So we'd put all of our eggs into that basket.
Yeah.
So the R18 was our push, and we wanted to have them in stores right away. So we'd only ordered, put in the pipeline enough for like 100 every month or so. So what we've had to do is basically turn that around and go back to our supply chain. Hey, you know how we wanted 200 a month of this one? Well, now we want 200 a month of this.
Yeah.
And we're going to scale back and start working on it. So we still want to get ready for the R18.
Yeah.
But we're going to push this guy right now because it's a great
This is
guy.
the one that you can right now.
It's the one we can.
Yeah. The Mark III has to wait for a little while.
Yeah.
So if somebody wants to get one of these, obviously they're going to be very limited for the first couple of weeks or however long that's going to be. But best thing somebody can do is get a hold of their retailer. Hey, do you have these coming in? Yeah. Put one aside for me. Yeah.
I know that the guys have, because they've prepaid for them to us, like, they've spoken for us, like Target Sports gets a bunch.
Yeah.
Siwash will have some. And the commercial ranges, we're making them a priority.
Okay.
Because they lost all their guns for the ranges. So the commercial ranges, we've reached out to a number of them saying like, hey, you can have guns first because you need to keep your doors open. Like, so if I know everybody about commercial ranges needing guns to shoot at.
Yeah.
And since they just lost most of their 9mm, right, all their PCCs, we got to give them something that they can shoot. So,
Which is also good for the consumers. I mean, if somebody wants to try before they buy
Yeah,
it, let's say
100%.
they want to wait for the second or third production run, they can walk into one of those stores in the next couple of weeks and they can try it out.
Yeah, and I think that's the best thing, because we want to get the round counts up on these guns, because I mean we've gotten in our test guns here, because we can, you know, easily we're talking 10,000-15,000 rounds to our test guns, like.
Yeah.
And then we just kind of grab one, and so it's not like, oh, specific. Then we'll say how many rounds.
Yeah.
But they hold up. They're just going to be little
just
workhorses.
shoot.
Yeah, they shoot. Which is what you want, right?
Kind of
what it's supposed to happen.
it's a prerequisite. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Gun must go bang.
gun must go bang, and every time.
Fantastic. So we're going to be seeing this on the market right away. Make sure, if you want one of these, start contacting your retailer, because I think for the next month or two at least, they're going to be worth their weight in gold.
Yeah, and I think they're a good gun. Like, I'm really happy with what we're putting out. Like, I think people are going to like them. People are going to have fun with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
Fantastic.
yeah.
JR, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Let's go shoot them.
Yeah.